I mean,
up to no good.
Making trouble in the neighborhood. It's just kind of the way we do it, you know?
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll hear the storm happening in the room.
I don't know. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think.
It's not going to be like...
My gosh, I can already smell your feet.
You can't. You can smell your feet.
That's probably my feet. You're probably right. Oh, yep. That's
God.
That's my feet. That's for sure.
Nerdy, unqualified, and probably indistinguishable from rambling. Welcome to the A&D show.
Hello and welcome to the A&D show. My name is David, and I am your host, one of the two hosts that we normally have. And as it stands right now, we are short one host. Austin is not with us, but for a good reason. They went on a trip. I went on a trip. Let me just start fresh. I went on a trip for the last few days. And joined up with a bunch of buddies of mine, and we went out and we did something pretty nerdy, to say it appropriately, I guess. We went out and we hunted for Sasquatch, and so I thought it'd be kind of cool to do an interview and check in with one of my friends who kind of spearheaded this with me, and we're going to talk about what went down and what happened. So welcome to the show, Corey. Corey is my friend from college. We've known each other for 45 years. That's not even close. That's closer. Closer to 4-ish, maybe 5.
Closer to 4 or 5.
Anyway, we've been close friends for a long time, and we went on a Sasquatch hunt.
We did. The correct term, I suppose you would use, is squatching.
Squatching.
We went squatching.
Squatching.
Which sounds way cooler, I think, than just hunting Sasquatch.
I mean, it depends on who you are and what your feet smell like. So we went to, there's a local hotspot. In fact, Corey, why don't you give them a little bit of background about the Squatch.
About the Squatch, huh?
About the foot.
Well, I
educate them on the foot.
I wouldn't say that I'm by far the most educated person on this topic, but I have done a little bit of research, so I'll just give you a rundown of what I know as Bigfoot knowledge on the foot.
The foot.
The foot, per se.
As they say.
Yeah. And so, like back in 1500, so it's been hundreds of years, there's been reports about Sasquatch, a big hairy man, running around in the woods, grabbing children from cabins and whatnot.
And it's not your weird uncle that likes to run around in the buff.
Right. And nor is it David in a gorilla suit.
I'm a human being, just so you know.
Yeah, but,
a human person with real feelings.
If I was a small child and I saw you walking in the woods, I'd be like, Mom!
That's why children don't like me too much.
It's a Bigfoot!
I tend to come across as a bit of a behemoth, as they say.
All right, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah, let me just give you guys a little bit of a background on my friend Corey here. Corey and I are like McGee and Me. And if anybody's ever seen the old film McGee and Me,
I have not.
It's about like a giant kid and then like a midget kid.
I don't know if I should be offended.
And literally like the giant kid carries the midget kid on his shoulders and they go on adventures.
Everywhere they go, just like
everywhere they go.
I don't think I've ever actually sat on your shoulders.
Actually, I think you might have at one point.
I don't remember.
In like a game, what is that game? The chicken or whatever? The swim game, chicken, where you sit on the shoulders. And
when have we ever went swimming together?
That's a good question. Maybe never.
I think you're making this up right now. I think this is some kind of weird dream you had about me.
You know what? This may be somebody else I'm thinking of. Anyway.
Okay,
so Corey is McGee, and then I'm me.
So Bigfoot history. That's
anyway,
where
Bigfoot
we
history.
were.
Right.
All right. So
1,500 years ago.
Yeah. So there were like these paintings and this artwork and whatnot on canvases about this big hairy man, and just throughout history. As far as American history, there's this place in California, which is your native land.
My native, my home. Yes.
You're a native Californian.
Californian by birth.
Right. So there's this place in Northern California called the Six Rivers Forest, which is like the #1 spot in the world
Yeah.
for Bigfoot.
Where
For
where all of the feet live.
Yeah, where most of the feet live. You know, there's some, but it's kind of crazy. There's like a whole bunch of theories that people have. Some people think that Bigfoot is just one supernatural being.
It kind of like teleports from place to place.
Yeah, that teleports from
Does
place
he have
to
one of those guns from that Portal game where he like shoots here and then he
just
shoots
jumps
over there
through?
and then he like
Yeah.
walks through and
This is actually crazy. I was actually reading this the other day. There's a person who claims who swears on their life.
swears up and down like a sailor.
Claims. They have a horrible
They use
mouth.
all of the profanity
especially when
because of
describing
this
Bigfoot.
this one thing.
Right, but they claim that they have seen Bigfoot like in Chicago as a hot dog vendor.
And then they what? It's like, would you like mustard with that?
And I'm just sitting here reading this. I'm thinking, whatever that guy's smoking, I want some of that.
Like, could you imagine like walking down the street in Chicago, like just chilling? Look, there's Trump Tower. Look, Bigfoot. Wait, what? He's like,
I'm gonna do a double take of Bigfoot.
right. He's like, do you want a hot dog with that? Because that's what Bigfoot sounds like.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you ever really bought hot dogs from hot dog vendors in Chicago. I have.
Yeah. Tons of times.
One of the requirements of the hot dog vendor clearly is not that you have to speak English.
Did you say the hot dog knitter?
Hot dog vendor.
Like somebody who's like stitching hot dogs together?
Just let me knit my hot dog over here.
It's like a sweater made of hot dogs.
I'm just imagining Sasquatch with his like giant fingers, just very intricately knitting.
He's over there like making strings out of hot dogs and crocheting a blanket out of hot dogs.
He's like, you want some ketchup or you want some mustard there, little boy?
Do you want a patchwork quilt? I can put some brats in there for you.
We can't do relish. It's too much knitting. It takes forever.
It's too soggy.
Why
are we talking about hot dogs? Anyway, get back to your squatching because what?
Okay, so yeah, and so we didn't get to go to the Six Rivers National Forest, unfortunately,
because it's too expensive. It's half a country away. You know,
we couldn't go to the #1 hot spot, and we unfortunately couldn't make it to the #2 hot spot. Or the #3.
It's my favorite part of the whole experience.
Or the #4. Not even the number 5, 6, or 7
I think we get the
spot.
point that we're not in the top 10.
But at the top 50.
Oh, gosh.
We're somewhere around like 36, 37.
I thought you said 16. Now I feel even worse about it.
Well, I was talking about in Illinois. It's like the 16th spot.
Oh, gosh. So there are 15 other places in Illinois we could have gone that would have been better.
That would have been better to find Sasquatch. But we went to the 16th place in Illinois, like the number 30th,
which is the Shawnee
National Forest. The Shawnee National Forest. I had a wonderful time.
I mean, we stayed in high style in the Twin Oaks cabin. Shout out to Timber Ridge Outpost and Resort for housing us.
Right.
They don't think they're going to listen to this podcast, but
Probably
you never know.
But if you're out there,
so we went out there and endeavored to do a little squatching.
Right. And when we very first got there, we pulled up to the outpost to sign in, and I asked the woman if she had
Tony.
That was her name?
No.
Oh.
So I feel like the people listening would like a name.
Would like a name.
Yeah.
So I asked said Tony.
Why are you saying said Tony?
Because she was there.
Doesn't make sense.
Isn't that what said means?
That's not the grammar. That's not the way to grammar.
Okay. So I asked Tony what she thought about the whole Bigfoot conspiracy. And she actually, and I quote, said, I see Bigfoot every day.
And paused for dramatic effect. And then she pointed out the window, and we were like, both kind of looked at each other and were like, oh my God. Bigfoot is literally standing outside.
Turns out it was a statue.
There's a statue across the street.
That's just like casually trying to like walk across the street, and Bigfoot's like, "Hey guys, I'm a statue," and his nose is like all chipped off.
Didn't we eventually go over to that statue? And get a
there was graffiti on him. Kids have defiled him.
Defiled the Squatch. So give us more information about the Squatch before we get into what we actually did as Squatchers.
So most of the evidence, most of the found, out there, videos, everything has all been deprived as a hoax. And actually, the term Bigfoot came from, it was back, I believe it was like the 1950s, 60s, somewhere around there, out in a bulldozer, a construction site. There was a man who had carved big wooden feet, and placed footprints on the ground. And a local news reporter saw this. He passed it as real. He was like, "There's Bigfoot out there," and
right.
The news reporter came out there and coined the term Bigfoot from the 50s, and he just put it in he was just kind of
made it like a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, he was just kind of riffing, and he's just Bigfoot, and he saw that footprint on the ground.
Because what else are you going to call large feet?
Large foot?
Bigfoot. Well, I'd love to have actually gotten to interview the guy that coined the phrase.
Yeah.
To find out if he was just commenting on the size of the foot, and to see what he would have thought the rest of the creature would have looked like, because that's the only thing they could really know how large of the creature it was. It's like 14-inch long foot, which apparently was an oddity in that day. Mm-hmm. Like Yao Ming hadn't been born yet or something. So, but. But I'd love to talk to the guy
just walking around a campsite or
just stomping his feet
in California, and everybody's freaking out. They're like, "Whoa, this must be a mythical creature."
He's going all CrossFit, flipping tires over and junk. Right. But no, I would love to have interviewed the guy because I would like to know if he thinks it was this like a really large hobbit with the big feet.
What he really thought it was, and
yeah, what do you think this creature looks like? And he's like, well, I would imagine that it was just an average, everyday, rather stupid-looking fellow with just gigantic feet.
And hair coming out of his toes.
Just toes going everywhere. Toes for days.
Hair toes going everywhere.
Gosh.
But yeah, so that was, excuse me, so that was the first.
So we can be, what?
Clear my throat here. All right, so that was the first really coined term of Bigfoot or whatnot, and then ever since then it's just kind of taken a life of its own. And it's funny because at the time everybody believed that was real, and everybody just kind of went with it, like, oh man, there actually is a Bigfoot out there. Some 50 years later, his sons were just like, it's been a few decades now,
since Dad duped the world.
Yeah, remember that time, Dad?
Took a big wooden foot and just stomped around.
Remember that? Hey, buddy, you remember that time? Yeah. Turns out it was all fake. You know.
It's we've let dear old deceased father have his fun. Let's just go burn his entire legacy to the ground.
Exactly. But that time Bigfoot had taken such a life of its own that everybody believed it was real.
Well, the crazy thing is though, that here in America, that's where it started. Mm-hmm. But, there have been reports from countries across the world, multiple places across our country, of similar creatures that have been called different things.
Yeti.
Multiple sightings. Yeti and... Yeah. What is Igogo, Bugogo, or something like that over in...
Yugu Gandhi. Yu-Gi-Oh. No, Gandhi was actually a real person.
Gandhi's... Just fresh off the press. Gandhi was a Bigfoot. What? So, anyway, so we decided, based on the evidence, or the hearsay, I guess, rather, that there had been Bigfoot sightings at Shawnee.
Where there has been Bigfoot sightings.
Whatever that means.
Sightings at Shawnee.
And so we decided that we were going to take a trip up there and do a little squatching for ourselves.
A little squatch.
To be in full disclosure, we had planned to go up there anyway and just got a group of guys and we were just going to go hang out for a weekend. Mm-hmm. And then on the way we were like, let's look for Bigfoot.
We grew out these ridiculous Bigfoot beards.
I wouldn't say they're big in and of themselves. It's basically
Brandon's was.
Brandon's been growing his for quite some time now.
He's been prepping for the Sasquatch hunt, the Squatch hunt for a long time now.
So we went out to the Shawnee and wildly underprepared for an adventure like this, and decided that we were going to shoot a documentary of our experience, which may or may not be released in the next month, 2 months. So if and when that happens, we will make sure that we release a link to that and tell you where you can find it to watch. But in the meantime, we thought we would just let you know, level with you a little bit and share with you some of our experiences, i.e., what was that kind of stuff. We're just like,
right.
Yeah. So, shout out to BuzzFeed, by the way, our inspiration,
right,
for Shane and Ryan.
Shane and Ryan, those are the goats, man. They got it going on.
Yeah, they got some real foul mouths going on.
They got
too.
some. In our videos, we did not say near as many
or
profanities.
Near as many. It's like we used approximately a tenth of the profanities that they did. That's not true.
We divided exactly their number.
Yeah, we counted up the average number of profanities through, a span of 10 of their videos.
Right.
And then we divided them by the number of videos to find the average. Mm-hmm. And then we multiplied that times the square root of nobody cares. So we're going to move on from this.
That's exactly, what we did. And we just kind of ran with it. And believe it or not, it didn't go horribly.
Believe it or not, we saw nothing at all. Nothing even close to a Squatch.
Well, let me ask you, Dave, going into this, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts of what? The Squatch?
On the foot.
On the foot?
Yeah.
Like, do I believe he's real?
Yeah, like where do you stand? Where do you come from?
I mean, gorillas are real.
Yeah, so
like Chex Mix is real.
I'm glad you can name a few things.
Like pancakes are also real.
We ate some this morning.
Yeah.
So what does that have to do with Bigfoot?
I mean, nothing except the Bigfoot could also be real.
So you think that Bigfoot had the potential?
I think that Bigfoot, gorillas are real. Gorillas are like monkeys, a big, giant, hairy, muscular-looking men things.
But people didn't see a gorilla in Northern California.
Well, here's the thing. Gorillas are indigenous to, like Southern California or something?
Gorillas?
Where are they indigenous to?
Like Asia.
Yeah. So gorillas are indigenous to Asia.
And the jungles. There's no jungle.
But imagine like, okay, so look at elephants, right? There are Asian elephants, European elephants, African elephants, right? There are multiple different species of elephant.
So what you're saying?
There could be.
So what you're saying is that Bigfoot is actually just an American gorilla.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. But think about it.
And this is what you think.
Well, think about it. There have been hundreds of sightings of this elusive quote Bigfoot across the country, random places that are seemingly unrelated. I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that Bigfoot's some kind of portal gun-toting kind of freakazoid supernatural being that literally beams from spot to spot and doing all this random stuff.
That's ridiculous.
But I mean, I think it's entirely possible that there could be some undiscovered. I mean, we haven't discovered every square inch of this country, this continent, right? So I think it's entirely possible that there could be some undiscovered species of primate,
right,
native to North America. I mean, who knows?
I think it's here's the thing. I would like to believe that
I want to believe.
I would like to believe that he's out there and that he's real and that he's somewhere researching humans. Like, ooh, are humans real?
Oh, so you're subscribing to the idea that not only is he real, but he's also intelligent enough to have his own society.
Wouldn't that be just so ironic though if he's out there in the woods, man,
hanging out?
Those humans are elusive.
Right. He's hunting for us the way we're hunting for him. He's out there. He's out there at a Starbucks, sitting there Googling humans. They have their own Squatch box.
Every time a car drives by, he's like, what was that?
He's freaked out. We were talking about this on the drive back. We were watching a video or listening, whatever, to a video on the YouTube, the ever elusive YouTube, about
YouTube's not elusive.
About these,
my phone
it was the BuzzFeed guys, Shane and Ryan, when they were researching this. Shout out to BuzzFeed. Some of the stuff is cool. Some of it's not.
Most of it's not.
Anyway, but we were listening to the video and they were talking about people trying to communicate with the dead, seances or whatever.
Yeah.
and how like what if they were there and they were in the video trying to do the same, right?
I watched as soon as that came on. I watched every muscle in Justin's body just tighten and stiffen up.
Right. But we were talking about like. Justin is another guy that was with us, by the way. He wasn't just some random dude that just like happened to be in the room when we were watching this video. Who are you? My name's Justin. I'm real tense right now.
I just want you to know I hate every second of this, but I'm gonna stay.
We should be friends. What? No, but we were talking about the possibility. They were talking about like what if they were being perceived as ghosts by a ghost who was thinking they were communicating with the dead, but they're actually communicating with the living.
A really good thought.
Really interesting idea. And so, like, what if we're out there like hunting the Squatch and looking for this ever elusive creature, and yet the Squatch is out there looking for us,
right?
And doesn't know.
That would
like,
be incredible.
Yeah, like well, I don't want to go to these concrete jungles that kind of freak me out.
Granted, if that is the case, if that's the truth, Sasquatch is way worse at it than we are.
Right. I mean, how much work is it to step out of the woods? It's literally woods and a street.
There's
it's like, go walking, buddy.
7.5 billion people on this planet.
Yeah, and one Squatch.
And like one Sasquatch teleporting.
He's like, dang, I can't find a single one of these. There's so many of them, but I can't even seem to get.
And what's even funnier, like your standpoint on Bigfoot is really just the American gorilla.
Yeah.
You know, he's out. There's a Bigfoot out there in Asia somewhere that's like, oh, this must be an Asian version of a human. You know.
He's like the most racist like creature on the planet.
Bigfoot created racism.
He's like, why does this one look different than that one? They should fight each other. It's a cage match, like chicken fighting, like cockfighting with humans.
and now we have a racist Bigfoot. And this is how Bigfoot took a life of his own.
Yes. So we're out there in the Shawnee.
The Shawnee, right.
We had a couple other friends come. Justin,
I thought you were about to say we had a couple of brewskis. That's what you're about to say.
No, we didn't. The BuzzFeed guys did. They tried to lure the Squatch out.
That was actually one of their ploys.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a couple other buddies come. We had Brendan, our local Squatch expert, just because he has a nice manly beard.
Looks like a little Squatch himself.
Very hairy little man.
It looks like a preemie Squatch.
Yeah, he's like a Squatch baby. Or like a Squatch with dwarfism. And then we had Justin, who just gets freaked out by everything that's weird.
All right.
And quite a crew. And so we're out there and we're like looking for the Squatch and found nothing.
Yeah.
It did go on some pretty great hikes, which was fun.
Right.
Ate lots of really great food, which was the
fantastic.
best.
Brandon actually is not that bad of a cook.
Shout out to Brandon Camacho, who will also not be listening to this podcast because he doesn't care. I might.
You asked him. You're like, "Hey, have you been listening to my podcast?" And he was like, "Nah."
He was like, "Nah, bro."
He didn't
even give it like an excuse.
He was like,
"No."
He's like, "That's trash."
He's like, "I haven't even listened to Bill's podcast."
Right. Yeah, I will say though, I've listened to a few of your podcast episodes, and I got to tell you, I thought that I knew somewhat about movies. I don't know jack squat about anything, apparently. I watched The Goonies for the first time this weekend.
Oh, yeah. How was that for you?
I got to agree with your guy, Austin. It's not the best movie I've ever watched.
You're just full of crap, man.
It's not the best.
That movie's great.
It's just loud and chaotic.
It's nostalgic. And Chunk is the best.
I will agree. I did like Chunk. I did appreciate the truffle shuffle.
My favorite thing is when Chunk is like... He's like giving the exposition of like all the things he's done wrong in his life. Right. And he tells the story about how he took the fake vomit up to the balcony, the mezzanine in the movie theater. Right. And he starts making these like, sounds. And then he pours it over the balcony and was like throwing up on each other.
Yeah, but by far we watched most of, BuzzFeed Unsolved kind of things. That's what we watched most.
Trying to psych ourselves out, getting ready for our Squatch hunt.
It was hilarious because we had left. Justin stayed behind. He was sick. So Justin stayed in the cabin.
On our night hunt.
And I had left the show on. Like, I didn't even think about it. I would just let the show on. And he's upstairs sleeping. And we come back.
And he's got the whole place on lockdown.
He's got the door like boarded up, locked up.
The shades are drawn. The lights are all turned out. He's like huddling in a corner.
And we tried to get in. We're knocking. He's like, "Who is it? Who else would it be? We're in a cabin by ourselves."
Yeah, like we're the only people for like 12 miles. Other than the Squatch.
Right. So he's like, I just didn't know if you were some kind of deity or some kind of Squatch coming to kill me.
Shout out to Justin, our resident skeptic on all things, everything. Oh man.
If he was on that show, he would be Ryan for sure.
He'd be the guy like afraid of everything.
Right.
And then he'd be the guy that would be like, because he's on camera, he's got like an emboldened,
fear.
sense of like fighting fear or whatever. You're like, hey, you should stay in this room with the lights turned out by yourself for like 12 minutes and just talk to whatever things may be in here and see if they talk back to you.
I think I just like burped into the mic. I think like it wasn't.
Did you
like
just belch on the mic?
It wasn't like an actual like extorted burp. It was like in my throat. Did you hear? Have you
one
heard
of those
that?
air bubbles?
I think
gets
I'm
in your
dying. I think I'm like, there's something wrong. I need to go to the hospital.
This is the weirdest episode of the podcast to date. We're gonna have to put like bonus episode so people know that we're not going to this format on a regular. Then again, it may become the most popular one. It gets us propelled to the top.
It very well could. But anyway, so we should talk about Sasquatch, Mark, because that's why we're here.
I mean, yeah,
right,
sure.
So
apparently, he smells real bad. Which is funny because when we got to the cabins,
smelled horrible.
We drove in because it was cool. Like Timber Ridge, like you guys are awesome. Not that you're listening, but you guys are awesome. And we pull into and like the whole thing is like super remote, like it's way out in the middle of nowhere. And yet somehow they have fiber internet. What? And HD TV and
fantastic internet.
Yeah, good fast.
Yes,
good fast.
It only skipped like a couple times, which is way better at my internet.
When it was storming and a typhoon came blowing through.
Also, what's up with the storms this weekend? Everybody's like flooding or something.
That was odd. So anyway, we pull into the lot for the cabins, and next thing you know, like there's this putrid stench that's just like coming out of nowhere, and we're just like, what on God's green earth?
Right.
Is that stank?
I immediately went to a dead body.
Well, and then we saw the vent for the septic system, and we're like, oh yeah, okay. Because you're a psycho, that's why you went to a dead body.
Yeah. So
I don't even know if we need this backstory on you right now.
I wasn't going to give it. I'm not a psycho.
I mean,
I just happen to be. No.
I mean, okay, whatever. Go ahead.
I just like a good murder.
He's a freak.
That's
he's a
all.
Freak.
I'm not saying that I.
No, okay, here's the thing. Corey is a bit of a bandwagoner to things that are not bandwagonable, i.e. murderers. And so he's recently taken it upon himself to investigate and study like serial killers, which is super freaky and really weird. Anyway, so he was freaking Justin out all week. He was talking about like dismembering bodies and all this junk, and Justin's like, can you throw me a nutty buddy? So anyway, we pull into the lot of the cabins, and like there's this putrid stank, and we're just like, oh, gross. The sewer vent happens to just be right by the entrance to this resort or whatever. And so anyway, we go through the thing. We're watching one of the BuzzFeed videos about the Squatch, because that's, BuzzFeed is like the ultimate authority on all things like cryptozoology or whatever.
Yeah, so they're the leading experts.
Yeah, the leading experts. And so we're watching the video, and they talked about which we won't go into details because I don't think it's not quite. It's NSFW for this podcast to talk about it the way they did, which is pretty much most of what they talk about.
Don't listen to us at work, folks.
But
not safe for it.
Or home. NSFW OH.
OH?
Or home.
Or home.
Not safe for work or home.
I was thinking also home, and I was like, you spelled also wrong.
Also with an O. But anyway, apparently he smells real bad, like real nasty BO, and
right.
Yes. And
yeah, so we smelled it.
We smelled it, and we were like, Bigfoot!
They said Bigfoot. I said dead body.
Yeah, because Corey's a freak.
I'm not a freak. Let me defend myself here, okay?
No.
I'm not a freak. I'm not obsessed with murder. I like history. And one of the pieces of history that I haven't expounded on is serial killers.
Well, I'm sure John Hammond said, I'm not obsessed with dinosaurs or creating giant theme park monsters that will inevitably kill and eat all the people.
Obviously.
I'm just interested in history.
So are you saying that John Hammond became a murderer?
Yeah. He created monsters that killed things.
He didn't create the monsters. He just took their DNA from a mosquito that they carved out of a rock.
No. Hut, tut, 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 tut. Let me explain to you, my young Padawan, how wrong you are. Because, okay, listen up, listeners. You know me. You don't know Corey. Who are you going to believe?
Corey.
I'm going to pitch you against Corey for a second, because here's the thing. You know me and my love for all things Jurassic Park.
Have you guys done an episode on Jurassic Park?
We have done 2 episodes on Jurassic Park.
Oh.
A 2-part episode,
Why are we even
actually.
talking about it right now?
Because it's important
to
Squatch. And a lot of the problems that people have with Jurassic Park stem from, like, oh, that's not what that dinosaur would have looked like. There's no feathers. There's no feathers on that dinosaur. The T-Rex is too big. The Velociraptor is, like, smaller than that. Like, just kind of stupid, whatever.
Are all viewers and skeptics of Jurassic Park 16-year-old potheads? Because that's what you sound like right now.
Pretty much, yeah. So,
okay.
But the interesting thing is that a lot of people don't think about is that they mention in the movie, they didn't just extract DNA and then put it in a fertilized reptilian egg and it grows into a dinosaur. They had to splice the DNA together with other animals, with frogs and salamanders.
Did they draw out that point?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I must have missed it.
Well, you clearly weren't paying attention, or you didn't care, or you're not me. One of those things is true.
2 truths and a lie.
2 truths and a lie.
1 truth and 2 lies.
So they created, like what, Dr. Grant said. They created theme park monsters.
Yeah.
In episode 3.
And they ended up killing everybody.
Yeah. So vicariously through the creations he made. Murderer.
And I loved how, I don't know if you talked about this in your past episodes or not, but I loved how you pointed out every single flaw of the movie.
Oh, yeah. We were watching, what was the movie we were watching?
Jurassic Park 1.
We watched Jurassic Park 1.
Yes, we watched Jurassic Park 1.
And the whole time that we were like, I had them pause it a few times and I was like, I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but the door was open and then it was closed and it stayed closed for a while.
And then it was open
and then it was open again and then they closed it.
Like, shout out to Steven Spielberg, one of the best movie creators of all time.
Listen, Steve.
But listen, man.
We know you're listening to this podcast.
Yes. Huge
and
fan.
Universal is not a sponsor. Jurassic World and parks are not a sponsor. But you are. That's not true. Steven's not a sponsor. But Steve, listen. Listen, Steve. There are lots of plot holes in your old movies. And some of them...
Huge holes. In the forms of closed and open doors.
Some of them are more noticeable than others. And some of them are hated more than others.
Right.
But listen, Steve... We appreciate you.
Listen, we know everybody's going to make a mistake, kind of like us. We didn't catch Sasquatch on video.
Yeah,
in our documentary.
Not even close.
Not even close. We did hear some things.
We actually, now that we're thinking about it, talking about our Squatch documentary, I don't think we actually even got enough footage to create an actual cohesive narrative. So it's going to be an amalgamation of random clips that don't make any sense.
We came, we saw.
We came, we saw.
We didn't
left.
conquer.
We thought we filmed a lot more than we did. We probably have at least a half hour worth of footage, but the footage is mostly us just talking about how we're going to do stuff that we never actually did.
We never went and saw that creepy motel.
What do you guys think about Sasquatch? Well, listen, we'd like to know. Granted, we don't have the ability for you to comment below.
Tell us.
But leave a review.
Tell them. I won't be here. Tell them.
Yeah,
what do you
leave
think
a
about
review.
Sasquatch? Post
about it on the Facebook, hashtag the A&D show, and we'll look at those. We'll look at those hashtags and see what we can find.
Just don't come up with anything as stupid as he's the American form of gorilla. Don't do that, because you're going to be wrong. You have the right to your own opinion, but you also have the right to be wrong. And
what is your opinion? We never even discussed your opinion.
Oh, we didn't get there, did we? I'm going to be real honest with you here. I would like to believe he's real.
You're wrong. And that's all. How it's just kidding. Go on.
I'd like to believe he's real, but he's not. He's not real. Bigfoot's not real.
You don't think there's an American form of the gorilla out there somewhere?
No. There's Asian forms of gorilla, and there's gorilla forms of gorilla.
What is that disease called?
It's called a gorilla, David.
Shh. What is that disease called that there's been people that have
grown an excessive amount of hair.
Yeah. What is that called?
The Brandon disease.
The Brandon disease, also known as the Corey disease.
Yeah, I also have a lot of hair. I can Google it real quick.
Because I mean, many of the most, with the exception of the one video from like 1967, right? Many of these accounts don't have actual documented footage or photography or anything credible to really lean on. That's a visual. Most of it's just like word of mouth.
Right.
And one kid actually, he went missing for 3 days, and then they found him by the interstate, and he just like talked about
this big hairy man.
About the hairy man that brought him back to the side of the road. It's possible that there is some kind of like person that suffers from that condition.
Just happened to pick up a boy.
That just finds a kid roaming through the woods and is like, I'm going to take this boy back to safety. I don't care if people see me. This needs to happen. Are you looking it up?
Yeah. Hirsutism?
Let me see.
That first word there? Hirsutism? Hirsutism?
Hirsutism.
I don't know if that's
refers to the growth of coarse dark hair in areas typically where I'm pretty sure this is just for women.
Dr. Google doesn't have all the answers.
Literally the next one down is what can cause excessive hair growth in women. Wow, Corey, you are the worst. The worst fact checker ever. We need to get Austin over here from Here's the Deal. Anyway,
how does he pick up stuff so fast?
Who?
Austin. Like, literally, they're talking about something, and he's like, oh, nope, you're wrong. Like, boom, like that.
Because he's constantly on the fly.
Really?
Yeah, he's just sitting over there in the corner.
You need a guy like that.
I would offer you the job, but you suck at it.
Well, that, and I don't live here.
That's true. We'll get Kenneth back on the show. He's been on the show before.
There you go.
We'll get Kenneth back on
He's
here.
A good, solid man.
He is a sponsor of our show now too.
Oh,
so
shout out to
over
Kenneth.
KS Marketing.
Have we left room for sponsors to talk?
You know,
I feel like that's your job.
Well, we're only going to do this is a bonus episode first of all, but also we're only going to do sponsor shout outs every other episode.
Oh,
or maybe we do it every episode since we only do twice a month. I'm not sure
it's
yet.
a bonus shout out for your bonus
bonus shout out through our bonus episode for our bonus sponsor.
There you go.
Yep. So anyway, give us a review if you liked this episode. If you hated Corey as much as most of the rest of the world does, give us a review. Let us know what you think. Comment on Facebook or on Instagram with hashtag the AD show. Hashtag the AD show.
Tell me how to better myself.
And yeah, tell Corey, how horrible his life is and how much better it could be if he did what you said.
Just don't talk to me about Bigfoot anymore. I'm sick of him.
Really?
No, I love Bigfoot.
You love the guy that doesn't exist because these are the things that you love in your life.
I just like talking to people and seeing how obnoxious they can be about how real he is when he's not.
Yeah. Like that lady at the place. Oh, I see him every day.
You're right, exactly.
Of course, she's being snarky. Look at that statue outside.
I just love to go rat-tat-tat with people, like a good rapport, a good dialogue. I love a good dialogue.
What was that onomatopoeia you just used there?
Rat-tat-tat-tat.
What is that?
That's how people talk about Bigfoot.
It's like a machine gun that shoots nothing but toothpicks.
I'm like, hey, how you feel about Bigfoot? And they're like, oh, rat-tat-tat-tat.
Nobody says that, Corey.
Okay. I apologize.